Greetings, folks. This is Brian Harris, the creator of the Independent Black Voters on Facebook. We are now into the general election. And one of the people that we endorsed in the primaries was attorney Jessica Goodey. How are you, Jessica?
I'm good. Thanks for having me today, Brian. How are you?
Okay, and thanks for taking the time to talk to us, folks. We're going to talk to Jessica so you can get to know a little bit about who she is as the person. We spent a lot of time talking to her in the primaries, and that's why she was endorsed. As I said, I've known Jessica for a while. She took on a case that I had for my father when no one else would take it on, and was very successful in getting us to a resolution. That's how I met Attorney Goodey. And I was impressed then by the way she handled everything. I was impressed because many times, and if you're not the wealthy, you don't even have the opportunity to fight in court. And we need to have judges who want to have the average person to have the opportunity to at least utilize a fair and equitable judicial system. And we believe that Jessica will bring that to the bench. So without any further ado, welcome, Jessica, and tell everybody a little bit about you. We're not doing an interview, we're just doing a conversation.
Sure. No, I appreciate it. And I appreciate the kind words, and I'm honored to have the endorsement. I have been in Las Vegas now for 15 years. Prior to that, I grew up in a really small town in the middle of Illinois, in central Illinois, close to Springfield. And when I say a really small town, I mean really small town. I actually grew up in the country, kind of in the middle of cornfields. And the high school that I went to, I had, I think, 49 people in my graduating class. So when I say small town, I mean a really small town. I went to University of Illinois and in Urbana-Champaign for my undergrad. And then I came out here to Las Vegas for law school. I had actually never been to Las Vegas before I came out here. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but I came out here with my son. I fell in love with the city, and now you guys are just stuck with me. I'm not going anywhere.
Great, great. And as I said, you have been there. I've been here 20 years myself, so time seems to fly once you get here. That's for sure. As I said, we've talked before. I thank you. You've come out to the Shepherd's Breakfast. I invite you to come out not just when it is election period. I know as a judge, it's very hard sometimes to schedule and come to things, but our community is really supportive of the judges and the elected officials who go out of their way to stay connected with us, not just when it's election time and we want your vote. So when you win this election, I'm going to hold you accountable to stay engaged with our community.
I hope that you do. And that is one of the commitments that I have made. So you know this, I'm a small business owner. So even before this election, I did what at least I thought was a fair amount of business networking. With the campaign, you know, that increased probably times 5. And I don't think that there's any way I could keep up this schedule and hit all of the events, you know, when I win the election. But it's something that I absolutely expect to be held accountable for, because we do need judges that are in the community, hearing what the concerns are, and just giving a face to our justice system. And we can't do that if we only come out every 6 years when we're asking for the vote.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk, and I know there are certain things you can and cannot talk about, and I will respect the ones you can't, because we're in some dangerous times today. We seem to be in an environment where truth seems to be on second stage. We seem to be in an environment where some of the ideals that made America strong are now being used to weaken America, and it's a scary sign for all Americans, but especially for folks in my community. Just give me your thoughts on where you think we as America are today, and what we need to do to kind of improve everybody's life and get to the point where America actually becomes the light of the world that we have talked about in the past. Just your thoughts.
And I wish I had a great answer for that. I think one of the things that we need is especially as when we're talking about elections and how do we choose our leaders, and how do we kind of cipher through all of the things that are being said. But one of the things I think that we need is personal accountability, and having voters hold elected officials or the candidates accountable for the things that they say on the campaign trail. And so I actually just came from an event at lunch. It was a networking lunch, and my opponent was there and made some representations about his experience that were not true. Some of them just blatantly false, some of them not giving all of the information, and others just made in a way that it made his experience seem like something that's not. And so that's scary to me as a both as a candidate, but as an attorney and just a voter. If I can't trust what you're saying or how you're representing your experience when you're on the campaign trail, when you're trying to get votes, how can I expect you to be ethical when you're making decisions on the bench? And so that's something that I really hold very true and valuable. Number one, I'm a terrible liar. I'm just a terrible liar. I can't lie. You'll know immediately when I am. But it's so easy to tell the truth. And so personal accountability on that, I think, is really important. And that's one of the things. If we can stop saying things because we think it's what people want to hear, or we think that that's going to be most advantageous to us, that's one way that we can start moving forward.
I agree with you. We have to stop to win the vote at all cost, even if it means selling our soul, lying, etc. And we've got to basically get through this position. Now I'm gonna switch gears and ask you, because you have a biracial son, correct? And
I do.
we talked about this in the past. So I like the fact, because it gives you, at least, it may not give you a full perspective, but it gives you some perspectives of some of the issues that my community deals with on a regular basis. We definitely believe that we have to have judges that have empathy, who have understanding, who did not grow up in a glass house, and so they only experienced the silver spoon and believe that they pick themselves up from the bootstraps and everybody else should. So just tell us a little bit about your experiences that you feel comfortable about.
Sure. And so, and I don't want to, use my son as kind of like a talking point or a token or anything like that. That's my baby.
I know, and I definitely don't want you to. We had some good conversations off, and that's why I say whatever you're comfortable while talking about. And if I knew you weren't sincere and legitimate on it, I wouldn't have asked you to speak on it.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. So I had, and maybe even a little bit more background. So I actually had my son when I was 20. I was a junior in college. I was a single mom at the time. His dad really didn't kind of step up to the plate. He was involved for the first couple of years of his life, but for all intents and purposes, I was a single mom finishing college and going through law school. I still have a great relationship with my son's dad's family. And my son and his dad have started to kind of rekindle their relationship.
Good.
It's something that I've never, I've never stopped. It's just one of those things. It's kind of what happens when you have babies young, some people aren't really ready to be parents. But for me, so again, growing up in a very small town in Illinois, you can imagine it is not the most.
I lost you. Hello. I think that's you and not me. Hello.